The final cut is a masterpiece, but the first draft is a war zone. This is Between the Frames. The year is 1999. The world is a glossy catalogue of consumer desire. We're at the peak of a decade defined by beige computers, boy bands, and a relentless pressure to acquire, to own, to define ourselves by the things we possess. Into this polished, pre-9/11 landscape, 20th Century Fox unleashes a $63 million anomaly. A film that doesn't just bite the hand that feeds it, but chews it to the bone. That film is Fight Club. Financed by the very corporate system it viciously attacks, it was a brutal, cynical, and deeply philosophical Molotov cocktail thrown into the multiplex. The studio, understandably, was terrified. This wasn't a product, it was a manifesto. Early test screenings were a bloodbath. Audiences, lured in by the promise of a Brad Pitt movie, were repulsed. They walked out in droves, disgusted by the film's raw violence, its bleak nihilism, and a third-act twist that pulled the rug out from under their entire reality. The feedback was scathing. The studio had a monster on its hands. The question wasn't just how to market it, it was if they could. Faced with an unmarketable masterpiece, the studio did the only thing it knew how to do. They lied. The marketing department went to work, not to sell Fight Club, but to sell a completely different movie that happened to share the same name. The trailers were a masterclass in misdirection, cut to look like a high-octane, testosterone-fueled action flick. They promised a cool, macho Brad Pitt, shirtless and smirking, at the center of an underground brawling ring. Magazine ads featured slick, glamorous shots that wouldn't look out of place in a fashion spread. They sold the sizzle, but completely stripped out the steak. The film's searing anti-capitalist, anti-consumerist critique was surgically removed. Tyler Durden's rebellion was presented as an aesthetic, a lifestyle choice, rather than a radical philosophy. This campaign created a powerful, but fatally flawed, set of expectations. Audiences went in expecting a mindless punch-em-up and were instead served a dense, subversive art house film in disguise. The result was inevitable. Fight Club bombed. It opened at number 1, a testament to Brad Pitt's star power, but the earnings were weak. Then, the word of mouth, the confused, angry word of mouth, spread like wildfire. The box office numbers plummeted in its second week. The film was a commercial disaster. The critical reception was just as polarized and vicious. Respected critics like Roger Ebert called it macho porn and a fascist film. It was labeled immoral, toxic, irresponsible, and a classic case of style over substance. The narrative was set in stone. David Fincher's Fight Club was a high-profile, expensive, and embarrassing flop. A cautionary tale for any studio daring to gamble on something so defiantly unconventional. The studio quickly wrote it off, burying it as a financial loss and a creative misfire. But here's where the story takes its crucial turn. As the theatrical run died, a new technology was quietly taking over living rooms across the world, the DVD. Fight Club was released on home video, and something remarkable happened. Freed from the crushing weight of box office expectations and misleading marketing, the film found its real audience. This wasn't the casual moviegoer, but a generation of disaffected young men, cynical film students, and cultural outsiders who felt a deep resonance with the film's message of alienation. The DVD format was the perfect medium for a film this dense. Viewers could rewind, rewatch, and dissect. The director's commentary from Fincher, Pitt, and Norton became legendary, peeling back the layers of the production. Hidden Easter eggs and subliminal frames, once invisible in the theater, were now discoverable, turning the film into an interactive puzzle. Online forums and college dorm rooms lit up with debates about its philosophy. The very things that made it a theatrical failure, its complexity, its subversion, its challenging ideas, became its greatest strengths for a burgeoning cult audience. It wasn't just a movie anymore, it was a text. In the end, Fight Club had to fail in 1999 to succeed forever. Its rejection by the mainstream was the ultimate validation of its own thesis, that we live in a numb, consumerist society, unwilling to confront uncomfortable truths. The studio's complete inability to understand or sell their own product was, ironically, the most authentic marketing the film could have ever received. It proved the movie's point before the opening credits even rolled. Its journey from box office bomb to cultural Bible is the perfect meta-story, a real-life parallel to the film's own narrative of tearing something down to build something more meaningful in its place. It remains a landmark, a film that wasn't just ahead of its time, but created its own. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.